Get comfy, Henry. Henry Lawrance.
Hello.
I'm using the French accent for you.
Okay.
Because it's like, do people always say Lawrence and then get confused between Lawrence? Lawrence?
I don't know if Lawrance is really an actual pronunciation of it.
How do you pronounce it?
Lawrence.
Do you say Lawrence?
Yeah.
And then do people say
No,
Ian
they just spell it wrong
all the time?
all the time.
Are you used to that now?
Yes.
Well, I try my best not to.
I preemptively tell people how to spell it.
I remember the
Because when
first time I
people are
wrote
like,
your name down.
What's your name, Henry Lawrence? They'd start typing in. I'm like, L-I-W-R-A. And
Yeah.
they're like, what? And then they type in L-I-W-R-E.
I remember the first time I was like, I got to make sure I never make this mistake.
It's okay.
I've tried many, many times. Okay, Henry, welcome to the strength movement.
Thank you.
You are the 5th. So I'm still learning this game. So hopefully you've already been on a podcast before. Kind of.
Sort of.
Sort of. When are you doing the other one?
We haven't picked a date, but hopefully soon.
Well, welcome to this one. I hope it lives up to the other ones you're going to be on. Give me a little intro about you for the viewership.
Sure. My name's Henry. I am a mountain biker. I'm a CrossFit coach at CrossFit I Love It. Relatively recently, I mean, it's been about a year now, but that's sort of been a newer thing for me. I've been mountain biking for probably 12 years on and off. Skier, sort of. Pretty bad, but I like skiing.
I haven't heard of skiing for you. We've got delved into
This is
CrossFit.
because I haven't hurt myself. Well, that's not true. I have hurt myself skiing.
I only know you by your injuries.
Yeah, mountain biking is sort of my primary sport. I've dabbled in racing throughout the years, a lot of different kinds.
I'm gonna fix this real quick. There.
Okay. I'd say mostly though enduro racing, so time downhill, not uphill.
Enduro is up and down, right?
It's you ride up and down, but you're timed on the down only. It's
Got
like
it.
a stage race, a multi-stage downhill race.
So what was like the history? Like, how did you get into mountain biking? Came first. CrossFit is newer.
I've been doing CrossFit for like 10-ish years as well. They kind of developed independently.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I rode bikes, BMX bikes, just like playing. But I grew up on bikes. And then I didn't do anything for a while. I didn't have like a great athletic history like through like high school or even in early college. Like late college, I for whatever reason just remembered that I liked exercising.
So did you ever strength train as a kid, like when you were BMXing, or was it like
not
just?
I
bike?
mean, I went to like gym class.
Yeah.
And I like half-assed it and didn't know what I was doing and didn't enjoy it. But then like midway through college, I think just through like friends, we ended up just like screwing around in the weight room and like got into it.
Yeah.
And that just sort of grew. And then
I feel like that's a lot of people. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of. It's like, hey, we were boys. Doing
we
stupid
had
things in the
like
gym.
access to the college weight room like on weekends when nobody was there, and we could just do whatever we wanted, and we just like got strong.
I love it.
And CrossFit was like, so that was like probably like 2010, 2009.
Was that here, or
No, that was back in Columbus,
Okay.
in Ohio.
Which is strongman capital of the
Yeah,
world.
so we had information. Like we weren't just like completely just flailing around in there. Like we figured out what we were doing, and then we did a lot of stupid strongman challenge stuff because it was fun. Like we'd go out and do a workout, then go push cars around the parking lot, or we did Grace with a keg once, which was pretty fun.
I wonder if, and again, this is not the reason why we're talking about it, but just being Columbus, I wonder if like that, being in like the capital of strength, like you could call Columbus like capital of strength just because West Side's there and, Arnold's there, all that stuff is there. I wonder if like it just kind of permeates like,
Yeah, absolutely.
this is where we're strong.
Yeah.
This is where like we lift weights and we move well. Like it's just in the city.
Yeah, so I sort of found CrossFit just through friends. Like I knew what it was, but like found a gym to go to pretty early on, I think in like 2013. And that was good. I was there for a while. And then I found another gym that was like a CrossFit gym, but it was like open gym. It was like they sort of had classes, but barely. It was basically just a CrossFit gym that was an open gym all the time. So it was like the combination of what we've been doing before, but then after a couple of years of probably not even like a year or two at CrossFit, and kind of got a little more specific, a little more into powerlifting, and then Olympic weightlifting, and then
It was like your body was training to be a CrossFitter. Even
yeah, and then eventually just back to CrossFit.
And then you were like, okay, I guess I'll just do CrossFit.
Yeah, like I spent a lot of time working on, like, I was good at squatting and deadlifting, so I did a lot of stuff with that, and it was fun.
Did you feel that the squatting, deadlifting? See, like, it is like when I usually ask people, it's like I did this, and then this kind of came up from it. But for you, it's like literally BMX led to mountain biking, and then goofing off with your boys on the weekend led to CrossFit. Like they kind of happened. But did you find that like the stronger you got, the better you got at biking?
I think not so much then, but now, yeah.
For sure.
Then I was just, because mountain biking in Ohio is fine, but it's different. It's not the same as it is here.
I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like in the Midwest.
It's just like, it's cross country riding.
Okay.
And there's some good cross country and some like longer loops and stuff, like longer trails, but it's not the same. And also wasn't the same back then, even 10 years ago. It was
just because the sport has evolved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you get to Bellingham?
2018, so six years ago.
Was it for the biking?
I mean, that I got a job at Western that sort of brought me here, but yeah, it was the biking.
That's what.
So I wouldn't have moved here if it wasn't. I mean, probably not. Well, maybe, but it's a cool town. But
yeah,
the biking was like we're going.
So would you say like in the echelon of like priorities as far as activity goes, like mountain biking and then like lifting and CrossFit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you use CrossFit as an avenue and like lifting as an avenue to be better at the bike.
I do. I think I just enjoy also CrossFit for what it is. And I think it's not always the perfect bike supplement training.
I mean, we're going to talk about that, right? Because
it's like pretty good and it's fun.
Surprisingly, and we're going to talk about this because obviously the reason we're here is you just had a huge race. But part of it was like, initially the conversation was how do we dial in your training to be more bike specific? But in the end, and we're gonna touch on this, like CrossFit was a great avenue to get you in shape for Leadville.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So, Leadville. The big race you just finished.
Yes.
Okay, so years of CrossFit, years of mountain biking. How did Leadville happen? Like for you as far as like even just getting to it?
Yeah, I mean, it came out of nowhere a little bit. I wasn't planning on doing an ultra endurance mountain bike race.
Have you raced before this, by the way? Like mountain bike racing? Like you said, indoor racing.
So I did, back in Ohio, I did a 100K, so 60-mile mountain bike race, Mohican 100K. Super cool race. I'd actually love to go back and do it again. But that's like, it was like 60 miles, 7,000 feet of climbing. Like it's not, that's like the real... It's like real XC riding out there.
And when was that?
It was like actually right before I moved here. So I think it was actually the summer of 2018.
Wow. But it's been, I mean, that's 6 years ago.
I didn't really train for it. I was looking back when I got into Leadville, I was looking back like, what did I do before that? I didn't do that much. You didn't do
very much, especially now when everything. I remember everything was so dialed in for you this time. You're like, everything.
Like I rode a lot, but I didn't do anything special.
Got it.
And I didn't perform particularly special. I wasn't really trying to. I was just there for the experience of the ride.
Which is what Leadville was supposed to be until you decided to crush it. And
that's what I thought it was going to be, more of that survival.
So, okay, back to how it happened.
Yeah.
Like how Leadville happened.
So last year, Rich Froning, the great Rich Froning.
Anyone in the CrossFit world, he needs no introduction.
So after competition, he sort of switched gears a bit and did Leadville, got into mountain biking, and then did Leadville last year, like a charity support for an organization that my wife has been part of. So we like followed along, like this is cool. It's a combination of a lot of things coming together. So we watched all that. You know, that was sort of, I'd heard of Leadville before, but I don't think I really knew much of it before. Then that was sort of my like, oh, cool. This is like
it's just interesting.
This is like a crazy event. This is a ridiculous event.
And it's just interesting that, like, of all things, like these two similarly niche things that don't usually go together. Like all of a sudden,
Yeah.
here's Rich Froning, CrossFit.
Yeah, it just was like, whoop, okay,
and
well,
like
I'm going to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So he did that last year. And then over the winter, he announced that he was going to do it again for his own charity organization called Mayhem Missions. And they were going to raffle off 10 spots on their charity team. And if you bought enough entries, you get this nice Yeti mug. And Kelsey wanted the mug.
Kelsey, your wife.
My wife, yes. Yeah. She wanted the mug. So she's like, hey, I'm going to buy 10 entries to this raffle so I can get this cool mug. If I win, will you do Leadville? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Did you really think, like, you were just like...
No. It's like, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. It's some raffle. It's probably, But I should have known better because Kelsey is extremely good at winning raffles. She has a very strong track record of winning raffles. Did not... But I mean, maybe I wanted to do it too. Yeah. I mean, it's not cool. I didn't really, at the time, I didn't really know. I didn't really think about like what it meant to go do Leadville. Yeah. But, you win an entry to a mountain bike race, like, yeah.
But whatever. At that point, you're not even thinking that's even a possibility.
No, I'm like, sure.
You're like, Rich Froning's doing this thing. Of course, there's going to be thousands of entries.
Whatever. Yeah, get your mug. It's fine.
Yeah. The things we'll do for a Yeti mug, I guess.
So then, I think it was like late February, early March, I like got an email that's like, hey, you've won a spot.
Was it lottery or was it based on...
It was lottery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you hit the certain amount for to like qualify with the Yeti mug, it's complete lottery.
Well, this was... Wait, you mean normally?
Like once you put in enough to get the Yeti mug and qualify, from then it's like out of all the thousands of entries, it's we just pull names.
We had like 10 entries in the raffle. Yeah. But yeah, so I got an email that says, "Hey, you're on. You can do this. Do you want to do this? Like, do you accept?"
It's like Morpheus and Neo. Like you could choose which pill.
I was just like laying there in bed with my phone. I just pulled it. I looked at it, and I was just, Kelsey. Oh no, Kelsey. Oh no, and I just like showed it to her. She's like, "What?"
So was the first thought dread, excitement, anxiousness?
I think it was exciting. Because I was like, oh. Okay. I mean, I'm really bad at saying no to things like this. Like, I don't.
Which is why you're on the podcast.
I don't know how to turn.
You didn't say no. Yeah. I was like, hey, Henry, you want to take an hour out of your day and do this thing? You're like,
yeah. I mean, it was like, I mean, I thought about it there was not really any moment where I was like, I'm not doing that. Because, I mean, it's a combination of too many things that I like. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it's a crazy event, but it's like a good driver to get super fit in one particular way.
Yeah.
Meet a bunch of cool people, go on a cool adventure ride. So yeah, there was never really any doubt that I was going to do it.
Right.
So like they called me and I was like, oh, this is real. This is like not like a scam email. They like I actually won this entry to this race. And then there was like a fundraising component where I needed to raise funds for the charity entry. And I had some concerns about that because I thought it sounded impossible because I don't know how to do that. But Kelsey told me it'd be fine.
Your wife is very good at that.
She told me it'd be fine, and it was fine. I think I hit the minimum way quicker than I thought. So that was a non-issue because I got so much awesome support.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
When did you decide? Because I remember hearing when you got it.
Yeah.
When did you decide to start to think of it as a serious competitive race? Because like there's two ways you could do this, which is like just like you did the 60 miler, the 100K without training. You could have gone through this just based off your CrossFit fitness alone and your mountain bike fitness alone. When did you decide to be like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna like do it, like focus on the nutrition and the like training and all the stuff?
Well, I thought it would take a little more of that to just survive the race. I was like, I need to do this just so I can come out the other side. I don't want to like say the race is easy or anything, but the difficulty of finishing for me, I mean, obviously it's different for everybody, but for me, I thought it would be harder to finish at all, but so that was not the case.
But I mean, because I remember we had talked about, okay, I want to try to get in this time and this time. There was a pretty clear indication like, okay, you're going to get through it. And then it's a matter of how fast.
Yeah. So it's weird because of the altitude. That was the big thing. And I just like didn't know about the altitude. So like there's a lot of advice and like guidance and podcasts about pacing and all of that. And it's like it's like the rookie mistake number one to just go out hot, detonate, and then drag your body across the mountains for 10 hours.
It just makes for a miserable race.
Yeah. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. Like,
Right.
I don't want to just detonate. I want to pick a good target. I want to like have a good day out there. I want to not feel like complete garbage. I mean,
Right.
I'm okay suffering, but I don't want to just be behind right off the,
Yeah.
out of the gate in terms of like how my body's doing.
It's like you either have a really good half hour and 11 and a half
Yeah.
crappy hours, or you have just a sustained tough but
And
good
the
ride.
race is like the way the course is structured, it absolutely punishes you if you blow up. It's like you start off with 2 medium-sized climbs that are not easy, but they're fine. They're like 1,500-foot climbs. They're a little less, I think.
Right.
Back to back. Like you go down one, you're immediately on the next one. And then you have a relatively flat section that you can go pretty hard on.
Is that where people blow up because they're like, okay, I got through some hard climbs, now I'm going to go?
No, they blow up on the next part, the really big climb.
Or like the flat is where they like go fast and they get cocky, and then all of
Yeah,
a sudden
you can.
and then all of a sudden they
Because you can get sucked into chasing people's wheels, because it. I mean, I did that though. I grabbed every wheel I could and hung on. Then you hit the big climb, which is a 3,000 plus foot climb up to 12,500 feet. So that's where like
altitude.
that's where
yeah.
altitude can really start doing damage to you if you're behind on energy levels or nutrition or whatever. That's where it kind of can start to go poorly. And then you descend that and you reverse the course at that point. The summit of that climb is the midpoint
Oh wow.
of
Okay.
the course. So then you backtrack more or less on the same
I
track.
mean
the
that
entire
3,000
way
foot
back.
descent must be pretty fun.
It's fun.
That's got to be pretty
It's
fun.
fun. The descents were a high point for me because relative to the general Leadville crowd, you get a lot of like roadies, endurance riders.
Right.
I was blowing people's doors off on the downhills. It was sick.
It's what you do. You're like, this is where I
Yeah.
shine. I want to bring it back to the initial finding out and like research, and then like how you changed your training up.
Yeah.
So like you find out, you're like, I'm going to do this thing. Was it immediate? Like you had some history of Leadville, but was it like researching the demands first?
So basically, the day I got the email, I got my bike trainer out, and
You're like, I'm going.
I was like, I got to get something
Yeah.
going. I had to do, because you got to do like the FTP, functional threshold power test, to sort of, that's like the number that you use to base your workouts off of.
Is that what Mayhem provided you? They were like, use this.
So they did, but actually I, independently of them, decided on the same software platform that they ended up getting us as a sponsor. So I started it on my own because I knew what I wanted. Because I've used a trainer before. I have
Right.
experience with that. I've done indoor training. So I knew what I would want to do for that. And then so the software is called Trainer Red that I used, and you basically can plug in your A race and sort of give it some parameters, and it will build a structured plan for you throughout, from wherever you want it to start to wherever you want it to end. And you can change a bunch of stuff about it to make it ideal for you.
But you can say like altitude and length, like what the race actually looks
basically
like.
time and like effort level.
Yeah.
And there's like it's called TSS, like training something score.
And so the first thing was
yeah.
to get the baseline.
Yeah. So I did that like the day of, because I was like, well, I got to go back to that. I got to do an FTP test, which sucks because there's a couple ways to do it. But the way that I usually do it is called a ramp test, where every minute you have to produce more power each minute until you fail. So it starts off, you're like, I'm great. This is fun. Everything is
So
fine.
bad.
And then it just devolves into you're clinging on to dear life to try to finish that 1 minute interval. So I did that right away to get it over with because I knew it sucked.
Yeah.
And then I just started, because it was the winter.
Yeah.
It was, I wasn't riding outside at that point much. So yeah, I started that immediately because I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the way I know how to
How to do it.
do it. Yeah.
And then I remember you and I had a conversation a little bit after that. And then there was also a conversation about with Kaylee, who's CrossFit coach, owner of CrossFit I Love It, where you're coaching. Like, was the next step then like, okay, let's get the team in place, like nutrition team for like getting my nutrition dialed in both during the build up, and then how you're going to manage CrossFit. And then like my role was just to like keep your body as best as we could like put together, because the volume of what you were doing was going up.
Yeah.
Because you didn't stop CrossFitting.
No.
During all this.
I cherry picked a lot.
Did you cherry pick?
Oh yeah.
So was it like just avoiding things that involved a lot of like back blow-ups?
Yeah, I actually just generally was trying to save my legs.
Okay.
Honestly, so every week at the beginning of the week, we get the workouts.
Yep.
I'd look at my workouts on Trainer Road. I'd look at my workouts at the gym, and I'd just start, because you can on Trainer Road. It's not like you must do this workout on this day.
Okay.
You can move them around.
Okay.
And like
you just have like a weekly.
It's a calendar, and you can move them around. So I would just like, I want to go to that workout. I'm going to do this workout then. This one I'll double stack. A lot of times I would do the bike workout, and then I would go right to the gym when it made sense. Didn't always make sense.
Oh my gosh.
But then I would just cherry pick, not like excessively.
I mean, you were really good about it. I remember.
But
you
like,
and
I would just pick the ones that made sense and would fit within the week, and would like match what I needed in terms of like how much I could do within a week without just burying myself.
Did the volume so like, I mean, you and I had a conversation, and I remember kind of talking about common injuries amongst bikers, especially when the volume goes up. But I like gave you more exercise, right? Because I worked with you early enough where I was like, okay, we know Leadville's coming. We got to build up some resiliency in your back. We got to build up some resiliency in your adductors specifically. We got to build up some resiliency. It's like I gave you more exercise.
Yeah.
So like that coupled with CrossFit, coupled with volume, and like I'm hearing you say like you were doing a few 2-a-days here and there.
Yeah.
Did you have to like think about the volume? Or was it just like, I'm going to lean on my youth and my overall athleticism to just be a beast?
No, I mean, it ebbs and flows,
you
know, with how much the volume affects you. Some days, some weeks I'd be like, this is fine. I'm totally can double these up. I'm good. And other times you're like, dude, no, I'm not doing that bike workout right now. Or I would skip the gym to get the workout. But because the thing with the bike workouts is some of them, it's like, you got to do them the way you can't just half-ass them. Like you have to actually like VO2 max intervals. Like you have to have the energy to really gas it on those intervals. Otherwise, you're not doing it.
Yeah, you can't like 7 out of 10.
Yeah. So like sometimes I'd be like, no, I can't. Like I need to rest to get this workout in or something. Or I would with Trainer Road 2, you can like that's not that workout. That ain't happening right now. Like I know that is not happening.
Right.
And you can pick alternates and be like, okay, I can handle this one, or even do a shorter one.
Do you think your history of like coaching or just like knowing your body helped you with those cherry picking? Because like most people aren't as aware as you are to be like, I have the energy for this, or I don't have the energy for this, or like this is very taxing on my quads and I'm going to need those for like there's a lot of nuance to what you did. And like being aware as a CrossFit coach and as someone that has a long history with biking, like I wonder if like that helped you kind of like make a good plan with all of your responsibilities and priorities.
Yeah. I think one of my strong points in like athletics is pacing. And I think that applies on a larger scale than just a single workout or event. Like it's like I would pace the week,
Yeah. I don't have that button. When Henry,
I still go out pretty hot, but
when you and I do CrossFit workouts together, I can keep up with you for the first 5 minutes, and then I'm like, I'm not in shape for this. Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to keep going.
I think that's what helped me at Leadville too, is that I could read my body and pace accordingly to stay in a good zone.
Yeah. Did your nutrition change?
Yeah.
I mean, you lost.
I lost a little bit of weight, and then I gained it all back. It got hard to balance dieting with that much volume.
Did you try to diet? Were you trying to get lighter? For the
Yeah,
race?
I mean, that's probably
no.
what I. No, it's like
No.
it's like you got it's all power to weight.
I didn't know. I remember seeing you through, and I was like, "You've lost weight," but I thought it was due to volume, and like I thought it was.
I think initially it was. Initially, my body was like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna drop 10 pounds
Yeah.
all of a sudden," and that was cool. I was like, "Oh, sick. Okay, well, I'll just hang out at 185
Yeah.
now and that'll be great."
I didn't know you were purposely trying to like be lighter on the bike.
It's just, I mean, power to weight is the number.
Was it?
Yeah.
So were you trying to stay at 185, 195 for the race?
I was trying to, but I didn't. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it probably was honestly close to 185 on race day because I think I didn't weigh myself the week leading up because I was not home.
Mm-hmm. That's big for a biker, though. Like, for
Yeah,
mountain,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah. Like that's like you don't look like the other people there.
Did you kind of stand out? Like,
Well, we were a group of CrossFitters, so we all kind of was like, we had like Matt Chan with us. He was like
yeah,
enormous.
Yeah.
He's awesome, but big dude for endurance sport.
yeah. I mean, you all are big,
Yeah,
Right,
I mean even
it's-
Froning is.
and he's leaned down
Yeah,
since doing it too.
yeah, he's like way bigger than most people you see in that race. I mean the pros are the pros, but the pros are all like, 5'10", 140. Keegan, I
Whoa.
think is like that light, the guy that wins it all the time now.
So you had an idea in the beginning of like, I'm trying to keep my energy levels high and feed myself nutritionally, but at the same time try to keep my weight low.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to go up more than it was.
So was it hard to feed yourself what you needed?
I just had
It's a weird balance, right?
Yeah,
Like, 'cause
So
you're
the
like-
changes I made, because I like count macros, so like
Yeah.
I'm used to that. I don't like it, but I'm used to it.
Yeah.
It works. I reduced my protein a little bit. I reduced my fat as much as I could tolerate, which was not that much because it was already pretty low. And then I dramatically increased my carbs, which was fun because like I'm eating like yogurt with cereal on it and it's delicious. But
Sounds good.
yeah, it is good. I still eat it. I didn't change my food much after Leadville. I did change my numbers to tune it back down.
Yeah.
But I'm still like I'm not being strict about anything right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, you're enjoying the fruits of being done.
Yeah.
What did you have any? I mean, you had a pretty clear road through, like no big injuries. Like, did you have injuries that
I was trying
popped up?
pretty hard not to hurt myself because
Yeah.
that sets me back so much
Yeah.
when I do that. And I really did get through without. I crashed a couple times, but nothing major.
Yeah.
But my riding got really conservative as I got closer. I was basically just riding gravel.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, and to be fair, again, I think it's a credit to you knowing your body and like knowing the demands. But like, I remember us having conversations and you were putting in the work ahead of time. Like, we went through a few phases of your kind of prep with regards to like keeping your body healthy. And at first it was a resilience, and it was like, okay, we're going to dial this back. We're going to add more stretching and mobility as we get closer to the race and as your volume goes up to offset some of the like
Yeah, I feel like
things.
a lot of our later visits were like, I would do a big ride,
Yeah.
and I'd come in and tell you
Unstick
what bothered
you.
me.
Yeah.
It was like, because I had like, my low back was getting sore.
Yeah.
Having a bit of like that weird mid back trap soreness. What else did I have?
But I think you
much.
you mitigated them quickly.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then-
And honestly, on race day, I didn't feel any of them.
There you go. Yeah. Ever strong. Yeah. And I think that was smart. Did you change, like, in the beginning, you and I talked about like, hey, I love CrossFit for you as a modality to get you strong and to build your endurance and stuff. But I thought at the time, perhaps leaning more into like single leg movements and multi-planar movements in particular would help you.
Yeah.
Did you make any of those adjustments?
I did a lot of the single leg stuff, and
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I would change within CrossFit. Like, I didn't make a lot of changes to the programming at the gym, but one of the things when I saw it, when I could swap out a movement for a single leg movement, I would do that. Or like, I remember one like, because it was just like volume front squats, and I was talking to Kaylee about how to bring in the single leg movements, and I would do like, I think it was like sets of 10, or it was like a high rep set
Right.
for like front squat. Instead, I would do like 5 reps front squat and then 5 reps right left of a kettle, whatever the movement was that we had decided on.
I think it was a front rack Bulgarian split
Yeah,
squat.
that one, which was a brutal combination.
I'm just thinking about it now. I'm like, what are you doing?
But It was good because it kind of turned it into like a mini WOD where
Yeah.
you're like going back and forth between the movements.
That's pretty nice.
But I do stuff like that, and I think it helped. And I think it just helped spread the loading of like the hard leg days to where they wouldn't be quite as destructive.
Yeah. And in the end, it paid off. So you finished the race.
Yeah.
We talked about what the race demands were. You finished the race. You did phenomenal. We had talked about, you thought you were going to get like, you were looking at 10 hours.
Yeah.
10 to like 10 and a half.
Yeah.
Before you left, and you did it at 9:30.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
it
almost
was good
you almost got the other belt buckle.
Almost. There's a lot in that 30 minutes.
Little shiny belt buckle right there. Yeah, and then post you and I talked about like that 30 minutes, like between 9 and 9:30. Like there's a separate belt buckle and like
there's
time frame.
The 9 is like the big divider time.
Is that like the ring muscle up in CrossFit? It's like a separator.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and I think you have to ride the course a little differently to go sub 9.
I mean, let's start here. Like, are you proud of that result? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
like talk about crushing it. Like,
and I like
every
couldn't
single
believe
person-
it when I was out there. I was like looking at like the time and I was like, what is happening? How
Yeah.
am I like here? Like I just kept it kind of expecting it to go off the rails. Sort of. I didn't actually think it was
Were you expecting
going
the
to.
altitude to like just hit you like a
No, I was just like, how am I this far into the race at this time and I still feel okay?
Yeah. I mean, you like I said, I think you dialed in your nutrition really well.
Yeah, nutrition
Kelsey-
was super, like race nutrition too. Because I
Yeah.
never really bothered paying attention to eating on the bike before. Like I would bring snacks.
Yeah.
You got pocket snacks and a beer, but that's different than what gets you through 100 miles
a
at
little
altitude.
blood thinner for you and the
Yeah.
alcohol and
But my nutrition on the race day was super dialed.
it was dialed. And
Yeah.
Kelsey was great just being there and like giving you all the support.
I had and for pit stops.
Yeah.
Like we over the course of the whole race, I stopped 5 times. I never actually got off my bike.
Really?
Yeah, and for a total stop time of under 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's 4 pit stops and one time I really had to pee. And I had to pull off and go. But
Next time
I
you're
thought
going to
about
bring up
like,
bladder,
no, it's
just-
going to take like 2 minutes. I got to keep going. I was
I
like,
heard
no.
football players do that in the NFL, like because they can't leave the field, they just pee, or they have like a section where they can just like pee off.
I knew there was like a spot I knew was coming where it was like a flat section or like a slightly downhill, so easy to get going again.
Yeah.
But like a lot of trees on the side, and I was like, oh, when I get there,
I'm gonna unload.
I'm gonna pee, and it's gonna be like it was like to the point where you just can't stop thinking about it.
The most relieving thing of your life. But under 5 minutes.
Yeah, so our pit stops were like about 35, 40 seconds. They were super dialed.
Wow.
And that made a really big difference because it sort of maintains that intensity, like going through. Because the pit stops are not a rest.
Yeah, they
And they
can't
should.
be.
And people are treating them like that. Like you'll see people sitting down.
And then they
like,
probably have a hard
hanging
time
out.
getting back into it.
Yeah, like people sitting on the ground. If I sit on the ground,
You're gonna lock up.
I'm going to cramp so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you cramp up at the end?
No, I never cramped. I had the twinges. I had the twinges pretty bad at one point, and we were like, so the big climb, Columbine, the midpoint high climb, the top part of it. Unless you're in the front of the front, you're walking large sections of it.
Yeah.
Just because you've got oncoming traffic at that point, it's super loose, and because everybody in front of you is walking, and you can't get by them without going into the gravel pit. So I was walking. I was like really good about getting off and on my bike to not cramp, because that's an easy spot for me to cramp when you're getting off the bike in an ideal situation.
Right.
Super easy to cramp. And I remember I was pushing, and like I could feel my quads like. If I go to like full extension, they'd be like that little twinge.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, no.
Like, I'm coming. I'm coming.
And I like was like doing like bringing like my like basically doing butt kickers while I was walking my bike to sort of just like try to stretch my quad for like a split second every step.
That's
and then,
so smart.
And then I was like squeezing I don't know what part of the quad, but like just above your knee, I just had like a really tight squeeze on that as I was walking.
Yeah.
And I got the twinges to totally go away, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
You like did like little terminal knee
Yeah,
extensions.
like this is great. I was so happy when they went away, because then I had a long downhill right after that, and downhilling with locked up quads is insane.
Brutal.
It's like so painful, and it makes it so you can't ride properly at all. So no cramps. A lot of twinges, but no actual cramps.
Would you? So like, if we look at either A, you doing it again, or 2, if somebody else is coming to you and like, hey, I'm doing Leadville 100, like you had kind of like an ideal race.
Yeah.
Right. Like given the fact that you've never done this type of race before, I would say you haven't been training for years and years for this race.
Right.
This is not your style of riding.
Yeah, 6 months.
Could you make the argument this is not your style of riding?
It was not.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it more than I thought, but no, it's still not.
So you kind of had the perfect race day. Like
Yeah.
you crushed the time for something that you're not crazy familiar with. It was a perfect storm of like CrossFit and biking coming together. Somebody comes to you and is like, "Hey, I'm doing Leadville." What would you say like your first like big tips would be?
I think I got my on bike nutrition sorted out pretty early on and practiced it and got my
You
body
actually
used.
practiced.
Oh yeah,
like you.
It's weird now to not do it on the bike. I'm like, do I need to bring my gels? I'm just going on a
So you like
lap.
took a few rides and you were like, I'm
every ride
and I'm gonna like eat on the bike
on
and
the timer
Really?
with my race food.
You were that dialed in.
That's what I heard to do, and it's like because otherwise you could have stomach issues out there. Fortunately, it seems like my body doesn't really care about what I give it during rides.
Just like feed me something.
Yeah, so it was not like I had any challenges. It was just sort of like because to get your body to tolerate that number, or just to get used to taking in that many carbs an hour. Like I was taking in 120 grams of carbs an hour, which I'd never done before. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of carbs, and it's kind of disgusting.
Those gels taste so good at first, and
Yeah,
then all of a
at first
sudden they
they're
get
delicious.
syrupy sweet.
Well, fortunately, I stuck to. I have my primary gel. It isn't flavored.
Okay,
It's a very neutral.
That's good.
Flavor, and that's kind of
what you want.
Popular these days because of that. You don't get the flavor fatigue as much when it doesn't really. It just tastes like energy.
Did you find that was kind of like the lowest hanging fruit of like if somebody wants to improve their bike time, get that on bike nutrition?
I think that's just you got to do that, and then I think the other big thing is I just climb big hills. I mean we're fortunate that we have access to that around here. I rode Stewart Mountain all the time. I could ride.
Yeah, I
could do it. I think you can get 2,500 feet of sustained climbing. Wow. And then you can make routes I would do routes that had.
And you also took 2 trips to do altitude training.
Well, I went to Leadville once.
Yeah. But didn't you do another ride at altitude somewhere else? No?
I mean, I did a spring break trip in Moab, but if you want to call that altitude training.
Yeah, you kind of cruised it.
But I think that was so we were at this, there were 9 other people in this raffle thing. So it was cool to see like other people coming from a variety of different ability level backgrounds, and how they went through it, and everybody did great. Like tried. Like
did everyone take it seriously?
Everyone took it seriously. Yeah, everybody did the things. And we had some people coming from altitude, some people coming from sea level. There was a guy from Florida who was I think he won state champs time trial. It's super fit cyclist, but he had no hills. And
did that get him?
Yeah, I got him. But he would do mega big rides. He would do a 80-mile ride with an alarmingly low, 200 feet of climbing.
Ooh.
Which I can't even get out of my neighborhood without getting 200 feet of climbing. Right. And I think the fact that I was just used to big hills, I would get the Columbine climb. It's a 2-hour climb or something. And I was like, whatever.
It's just something that you've done.
I'm used to it. Yeah. I would do my workouts on the hill.
Yeah.
So that was another huge thing. Once I feel like my training kept evolving as I got closer, partly equipment reasons, partly because the weather got good.
Yeah.
And it just got more and more specific. And by the end, I was doing interval workouts up hills where I would do the interval up the hill, and then on the rest interval, I would keep going up the hill and just slow down. And that was great because you just learn how to use put out different power levels on the climb, and especially put out the low power levels.
Was that kind of an X factor for you? Is being able to kind of turn down but still keep going when
I'm good at resting on the bike. I'm just chilling. I'm just going up the
I
hill.
can't imagine most people would be familiar with how to do that, especially
Yeah.
in a race, especially like in a race environment where it's
Yeah.
like go, 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 go. Everything's pushing you to like,
Yeah, and I think the difference, one of the differences that I would need to make between 9 and 9:30 was that I would get stuck in traffic, and I'd be like, "Cool, I'm just gonna chill here for a bit," and like use this to slow myself down.
yeah,
When I think for 9, I'd be like, "Get out of my way, I gotta go."
I got to move.
Yeah.
First, are you planning to do it again, or would you like to do it again?
I would like to do it again.
If you do it again, are you going to try to shoot for 9?
Well, yeah, I have to. I'm not gonna do it if I'm not gonna shoot for 9 now. Yeah, that'd be
I got 9:30.
yeah,
I got it.
yeah. I got too close to not shoot for that. I mean, especially this close to it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah.
We'll see how much I can maintain that enthusiasm throughout a year. I'll probably enter the lottery for it if I don't do some other way to get an entry. I'd love to do it again.
So now, if you do want to do it again, are you going to change your training? Because like before this, it was mountain biking and
Yeah.
it was CrossFit.
Yeah.
And are you going to now? You found this new thing and it's enjoyable for you. Are you going to change up your training going forward? Like both in the next year in case Leadville comes up again, and then like kind of going forward.
Yeah, I think I did a lot of things right.
Yeah.
I would start earlier. I mean, I started as soon as I could, but I would start earlier in the winter. I mean, I already plugged in on Trainer Road 2025 Leadville and looked at it, but I was like, I haven't done any of them yet. I've got my first scheduled one tomorrow, and I'm not.
Do you really?
I think it was actually today, but I moved it to tomorrow. But I'm probably still not going to do it
Because of this?
Yeah. I'm probably not going to start doing that. I'm not. It's too nice outside to ride the trainer anyway.
I mean, you should have fun for like even your pros have an off season.
Yeah, but what was I saying? What I would do differently?
Yeah. Like, are you going to change up are you going to start cherry picking a little bit more of your CrossFits? Are you going to start adding a little bit more unilateral work? Are you going like?
I think
are you
I
going
would,
to make
yeah.
adjustments?
I think probably not until we got like into that like deep like 6 months out window is when I would start doing that stuff. I think if I do, what I would do differently is I would do more races over the summer. Not to say I should have done that this time, but next time I think I would do more.
Like in the training process.
Yeah, find more races to do. Because I only did one race before Leadville, and it was great. And I'm not saying I should have done more races because I was so focused on the one A race of Leadville that I'm okay with not doing any of the other ones. But now I'm like, well, I could do this one too. It's like 2 months out.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't need to worry. I feel like those would be beneficial.
Just to push the pace and kind of lean into it.
But I think also like the work that we did, like especially in the winter, like just build up that unilateral strength. Just do like the low back stuff. The low back strengthening exercises were probably my favorite and most utilized ones.
I mean, I have some of the, I have a few videos.
They were just so simple. It was just so simple. I would just hop on the GHD after gym and just
for those wondering, Henry's low back resiliency work literally focused on low back endurance and like maintaining neutral position for as long as possible. And we had him loaded, so like literally GHD on prone, unsupported on the top, and just like I had you doing rows and pulls and just like sustaining that position for extended periods of time. And it's just about building muscular endurance. Would you say, okay, so like, was there anything negative about Leadville? Kind of was picture perfect.
Yeah, sometimes I am left with the thought of what would have happened if I pushed for sub 9 that day, but that wasn't ever in my plan.
Right.
So I can't really. What am I gonna do?
The thing is,
and all
like,
the people that I knew that paced sub 9 blew up, and I passed them. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can't play Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, perhaps your body wasn't ready for that, and you weren't expecting that. I think 9:30 is like all of us are in awe of how like amazing that was. I was expecting you in the 10s, and I remember telling you like,
yeah,
because you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like do it. Like 10. I was like, you got 10s, and here we go. We find out 9:30.
Yeah.
Like, maybe next year we'll have a different belt buckle.
Yeah. What I feel like is going to happen is I'm going to train super hard. I'm going to go there. I'm just going to have just the worst day. Like everything's going to go wrong.
I can't imagine that because you prepared.
Yeah.
You prepared so well for this.
Yeah, and if things had gone wrong, I had done a lot to prepare for those things. Like like nothing went wrong with my bike, which was great. Shout out Stash Cycles.
Yeah.
It was dialed. If something had gone wrong with my bike, I had what I needed to fix it, and I know how to fix it. And
you do have that info in your head.
Weather was good. Did hail near
It
the
did?
end. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it was also I like got most of the way through explaining the course, but the final 25 miles, you come back over those 2 climbs that you did at the beginning.
The 2 1500s.
That's the true crux of the race. That's like when the race is that's when it starts.
Because that's when you are the most
70 miles in, you go, it's called the power line climb, and you should look up a photo or video of it, because it's called the power line climb because it goes up underneath the power lines.
Yeah.
Straight up the hill.
I mean, I remember I saw when you got the thing, I watched in preparation to work with you. I saw the Rich Froning documentary.
So there's clips of him on that one.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that, and like that was such a great documentary on like giving me a history of like what to expect in preparation for figuring out kind of this thing.
So on that super steep climb, that's when it started hailing. And it just broke people.
I can imagine it would break me just like, oh crap. Henry, I want to give you a chance to shout anybody out. I mean, you had this phenomenal race. You mentioned Stash Cycles. We talked about obviously Kelsey, your wife.
Yeah.
Who were the shout out people that made this so successful for you?
Yeah, I mean everybody at the gym, Matt and Kaylee.
Yeah.
I mean all the other coaches, D3.
Yeah.
It was awesome having sort of that other fleet of endurance athletes at the gym, like Erica, Lucas, JT now doing endurance races. So
you want to talk about a big boy doing endurance?
And now we're all just a bunch of endurance nerds, so it was great. So I mean, tons of support there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that donated to the fundraiser, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have happened without that. But it was also for a great cause.
Yeah.
What else?
Your wife.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Stash Cycles.
Yeah.
Well, what was the bike that you got for it?
A Specialized Epic 8.
Are you going to keep it?
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
It's so much fun. It's a great Bellingham bike, too.
Is it?
I didn't think it would be, but I got to upgrade the brakes and put my real tires back on it. But
Henry, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate anything else you want to say, do, whatever?
No, I don't think so.
We'll save this for next year when you got a sub 9 on the books.
Yeah,
but
sounds good.
Thank you for being here, and thanks so much. Thanks everybody.
Thanks.
Henry Lawrence with an A. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Stay strong. Peace.